Dear Harstem, lurkers are ridiculously imbalanced. 2 lurkers can hold off 30 supply of bio, while the Zerg just makes 1,000 drones. In this game, my Reaper delays the third phase of the Zerg for nearly a minute. My double drop does not get a lot of damage, but I take a third base while deflecting a counterattack, and do a doom drop that doesn't go great, but trades out a lot of units. Then I macro up at home while being up 2 full upgrades the entire time. I push again with 2-2 and 4 bases, and decimate the Zerg army of pure Hydra Viper. I kill 51 workers and trade out my army, now up 14 workers and 2 upgrades. But my opponent has a trick that will counter all of that. A lurker den. I, however, predicting this, start up Ghost, Cloak and Liberators. Over the next 5 minutes I kill 5 hatcheries and take favorable trades the entire time. Being up 50 to 70 supply the entire time. By the 25-minute mark, I've killed 94 workers. The Zerg just keeps making lurkers. The Zerg decides to tech into Ultralisks and attacks me, losing their entire army in the process. I kill 2 more hatcheries and what has to be the 4th lurker den. But as usual, the Zerg just throws down another lurker den and continues to make lurkers. The Zerg drops 2 lurkers in my main, which I kill. I attack another hatchery in order to kill another lurker den, and the lurkers shred my army. I try to escape with medevacs, but I lose too much. The Zerg has too many units, and unlike the Zerg, I don't have an imbalanced unit to counter the encroaching Zerg army. I've killed over 100 workers by this point, but it doesn't matter. I can't defend against this army. 4 lurkers can shred my specialized army of bio and ghost, but what would 4 liberators or tanks do? Die immediately, or get abducted and die. So tell me, Harstem, is the lurker imbalanced? Or do I suck? Name: Paladin, race: Terran, League: Diamond, and the server: North America. Alright, Paladin, let's have a look at whether the lurker is imbalanced or whether you just suck. Now, this is actually a very popular question, and often it comes from Protoss players, but also very often, and often the more convincing arguments come from the Terran imbalance forms, I have to admit. The lurker is just a very tricky unit to play against, as Terran specifically, because your detection isn't quite as reliable. Ravens are difficult to navigate, they're not invisible unlike the Observer. They don't function well with the Terran army, which especially lower level Terrans tend to use F2 in the Terran army a lot, making it difficult to control Ravens. And then the only real reliable way of having detection everywhere tends to be the scan. But in order to scan, you need a lot of command centers. And in order to have a lot of command centers, you need a solid early game. This is something that a lot of Terrans struggle with, because the early game consists of Ling Bane stuff, getting up 4 or 5 extra CCs, turning them into orbitals, can be tricky. These are all very good arguments. However, once the ghosts are out and the liberators are in position, lurkers just kind of fall off a cliff, honestly. They become a lot worse, really just a lot worse. Once you have snipe available, every single time that lurkers burrow and unburrow, 3-4 lurkers are going to die, and lurkers aren't cheap. They're very expensive units, and it's really easy for the Terran to take super cost-efficient trades. Once you get the stable setup, or you get some type of split map scenario, we've seen it many times out of Maru. Once you get there, for a Terran, majority of the time, it's going to be fine. However, I have a completely open mind to this. If I truly believe that the lurker is too imbalanced, whether that is level related, so at this level it is too hard, or just in general too hard, then I mean, I'll need to change my opinion. I'm a man of science, you know? I stick with my opinion until different evidence gets presented to me. Or until I die and then the guy that comes after me, you know, takes over my work. Anyway, let's have a quick look here at this opening, this early game. So we see single Reaper as a start into a reactor. Now, this is a very uncommon build. This means this will be a barracks as a secondary building, but that barracks should have been built before the depot. Building the barracks and the factory at the same time is not correct. Second barracks before the depot is a mistake that a lot of people make. I'm not going to complain too much about it. Good control so far on the Reaper as well. I kind of do like that. This also might actually get a drone here. Does get a drone. That's very solid, actually. And maybe he can get a little bit more done with that Reaper. I mean, forced an extractor here. His opponent didn't build any links though. It's kind of funny. It's very rare. I don't actually think, by the way, that the hatchery necessarily got delayed because of the Reaper. So in his little form, he wrote that he delayed the hatchery because of the Reaper for an entire minute. But honestly, the hatchery is delayed because the Zerg player was floating 700 minerals. The Reaper went over here. This is more of an accidental delay. This wasn't a minute either. Maybe he can't count? Yeah, okay, let's go back here. Okay, so the actual timing that the hatchery was gonna go down was 3 minutes and 1 second. And the actual timing it ends up going down is 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That is a 15-second delay on the hatchery caused by the Reaper. Sure, the hatchery is almost an entire minute late compared to what it usually is, but that was because of the Zerg's incompetence, not because of your brilliant Reaper. So that is the first part of your imbalanced form that I would deem to be, well, pretty untrue. What was it you said exactly again? The Reaper delays the third base of the Zerg for nearly a minute. So unless we're rounding up, I don't think this was a minute. I would not recommend rounding up like that either. It's gonna get some weird timings in that case. Yeah, you hit me. This Probe Scout literally arrived at like... Well, actually, I don't have a good joke here. Never mind. We'll scratch that. The Reaper is gonna go find this Zergling. In my head, the joke was going to work, and then I realized there really was nothing there. Well, I'll have something. I'll make it up to you guys. Don't worry. Oh, he's gonna... Oh! I understand it now. Paladin didn't watch the replay, and he thought that this was the third base. Well, that is actually the fourth base. So later on, he's going to scout this base, completely unaware of the fact that there's a third base over here already. He's going to be real confused this game. I can assure you that. He's going to be real freaking confused. These links are moving across the map, trying to get some scouting. This is a 2-1-1, by the way. Like I mentioned before, it's not the tightest 2-1-1 because of that delayed second barracks, but it looks kind of okay. The deep third gas is, I think, slightly too fast as well. No, he wants 2 extra medevacs. Yeah, that's not great. Okay, so this is the first drop that he does. Now, his opponent took a very fast forward base, doesn't have any units, and has 6 queens. That's it. If he unloads in time and stims his units, I think he should just basically get a free win here almost. Or if he boosts into the main base, that might also be a possibility. Let's take a look what's going to happen here. Queens will start shooting. Quick response out of the Zerg, by the way. Zerg also has pretty decent creep spread. Okay, we get a drop. Only drop with 1 medevac first. Okay, this wasn't it. That really wasn't it. That was a very poor trade. So, one of the concepts with the 2-1-1 is that the first timing with the 2 medevacs is nice, and often you can do something again with it, especially at this lower level. But it's most important to keep all your Marines alive, because then when your combat shield finishes, which should have started a while ago already, and your third medevac arrives with 6 Marines and a mine, or with 8 Marines, you can really deal some big damage, because there's only going to be slow Banes, a couple of Queens, and Links. And you can definitely trade well here. Now, the Terran did talk about that. He said, my double drop does not get a lot of damage, but I take a third base while deflecting a counterattack. Now, this is one of these things where the first part of the sentence does not connect whatsoever with the second part of the sentence. It's like, imagine you work in a company and you're a salesperson. And you go to your manager, go, Janice, I know I haven't made a single sale in the past 12 months, but did you see the freaking word art that I made for the financial report of Q1 in 2018? Like, Janice will just look at you like you're a complete idiot. Because if you're not getting any sales, that is the thing that truly matters here initially. The second part, good job that you're doing that correctly, but we're criticizing you on part 1 here. Your drop did nothing, and even worse than doing nothing, you wanted it to do something, and you sacrificed Marines for it. And because of that, the most powerful part of your build, which is when the third medevac arrives with the combat shield, is not going to be able to do anything. And at this point, your build is completely pointless. You just ruined your own build order. And the worst part is that you're not even aware of it yet, because in your mind, you deflected a counterattack and got a third base at the same time. So then all of a sudden it's fine. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It really is very illogical. It's also a weird wall, by the way. It's like you played Snake too much growing up as a kid. And now you always have to make shapes in... That's kind of like a weird snake. Very sharp turn there on the snake. Bit too sharp. It's not possible. Alright, what's your follow-up going to be? Armory. You have these double E-bays. Third barracks before the third CC. This is the incorrect call as well. Usually you should be getting that third CC before. Because otherwise the longer you delay your third CC, the more all-in you're going to get. And that tends to be a bad thing if you're playing as a Zerg. Now, the Zerg, this Zerg is very good, by the way. I'm really surprised. His creep spread is quite nice. He moved his queens very quickly as well. His droning, sure, isn't the fastest, but he knows what to do. Like, I really like the way this guy is playing. I feel like this is the second trip this SCV made. Sees, oh, there's still poop over here. Let me just build the third CC on the other side, I guess. Yeah, that's what he's gonna do. I'm not a huge fan, generally, of building the CC on position against Zerg, because often a single Ling or 3 or 4 Lings or 10 Lings can cancel that. I much prefer having it over here, and then you can just float it down. What is this? Sir, we finished the wall. Perfect, soldier. Now send all of the women and children outside. What? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. You build a wall. Either you build a CC in the wall so there's less surface area, or you build it on the high ground over here. The worst part is, at flying from this point is further than flying it from over here. So not only are you exposing it to danger, it's also just, quite frankly, worse. But this is the Doom Drop that Paladin refers to. And as he said he traded this out. He said, I didn't do a lot of damage, but I traded out a lot of units. So I'm very curious to see what that means, kind of, you know, more in a more substantial way. Okay. Trading out units. I wish I had a pen here. I would have written it down in my notebook. Trading out units, losing everything to 4 Banelings. That's great. Next time I go to the casino, I'll tell my girlfriend that I traded out $500 as well to the casino. Yep, we're gonna have water for dinner for the next 3 weeks, or we're not making rent. See how she responds to that. There's absolutely no way this was good. Your opponent held this while being up 30 workers, by the way, or something like that. I think he had 78, 75 workers. Now still 71. It's already on 4 bases, taking a 5th base as you're trying to land your 3rd. This is still not an orbital either. So, honestly, you're in quite a bad spot. You haven't cleaned creep once. Maybe? Not a single creep tumor has gone down. Not one. In a 9-minute game. Then you know that something is wrong for the Terran. You haven't really killed much in general. Like, you went for an extremely aggressive build with a 2-1-1, delayed your 3rd CC for an extra barracks, and so far the units lost is exactly even, and your opponent is up 32 workers. Yeah, this has not been a successful expedition so far, let me tell you that much. Lurker then being thrown down at the 9-minute mark, Hive going down, triple Evo chamber. This Zerg is playing really well. His creep spread is very solid. I think he's quite fast as well, yeah. This Zerg is actually at 250 APM for a diamond. It's not bad. Like, his macro is slipping at times, and the injects aren't brilliant. But nothing that can be fixed with a couple of macro hatches, of course. So you see one macro hatch going down here, and macro hatch on the far right side. Macro hatch in the natural as well, and all of that looks kind of good. You're just kind of sitting back. You're not even sending out single marine drops either. Like, you could just send a single marine drop, start clearing some creep here. I'm actually not quite sure what you're paying attention to. It seems to me like you're not doing much of anything at this point. And it is difficult to believe, for me, that you at this point think that you did so much damage that you can just sit back and wait for your opponent to all-in into you. Like, it's obvious that that's not the case, right? You did no damage whatsoever. Even you stated that in your forums, that you just didn't do a lot so far. The only bragging that you've done in your form was that you deflected a counterattack and that you managed to build a 3rd base. Well, building a 3rd base is just clicking the B and the C button for a 2nd time. So you build a... What are these guys doing? Are they at a dancing party? What is this? Oh, see that again? Come on. Very cool. Very, very cool. I didn't know this was possible. Do you think he's clicking this to do it like that? Oh, he's chasing the Karak. He's dancing around the Karak. And whenever the Karak tries to move... Oh, I've never seen that before. That actually was quite nice. I do really enjoy that. What do we have as a follow-up here? Vipers coming in. So this is the Hydra Viper stage. Now, the 5 aggressive Evo chambers. This Zerg has... he's loving it, man. The aggressive 5 Evo chambers for the... So that the Vipers can start getting some energy from here. It's actually quite important usually. I do like that. I really do like that a lot. Solid moves. Solid moves. Still not doing much of anything. I think you cleared 2 creep tumors so far. Yeah. 2 creep tumors have gone down in a 12-minute game. You went into 8 racks as well. And a double factory. So this is... You're basically setting up for a 3-base all-in here. 12 minutes into a game while your opponent is attacking you with Hydra Viper. It had absolutely insane timing that you're managing to hit here. Fly the Liberators forward as well into your opponent's army. You're actually... It's so obvious that you're... Ooh. Oh no, poor Zerg. No Banelings in his army means he's gonna move through. I was gonna say, it's really obvious that you're using F2 so much as well. Because every time you have the Liberators not in siege position, they just move command into your opponent's Hydras. It's quite sad to watch. This is a great run by if it would be going into the natural. Or if there was a fort base to attack. But sadly that's not the case. You set up these Liberators. I mean, I think at this point... I think at this point if the Zerg attacks into you with the Banelings, he should still be fine. But yeah, he attacks with the Hydras first. That was going to be kind of difficult. I also like that you completely gave up on cleaning up the creep as well. Hey, you did one more scan, kind of. How do you see that again? How many creep tumors you killed? Oh, yeah, 13 creep tumors have been lost so far. You're completely deep into the creep. I had a friend that had a similar approach to what you have with creep, but he had it with personal hygiene. So he always smelled quite bad and never really showered. And he said, Kevin, at this point, if I were to shower, I would need to clean so much, and it would take such a long time that I almost think it's not worth the effort anymore. And I feel like it's the same kind of thinking that you're using here. Like, there's so much creep that you feel like it's no point anymore. But I think that theory kind of stinks. I would not suggest that. Just, even if it's too late, you can still make something of this game. Just start by clearing the active tumors, that type of stuff. Now, you're dealing a lot of damage with this. Ooh, I love that as well. Good stuff. Making sure that the 3 Banelings can clear 5 mines at the same time. Possibly the only way you can still lose. You're up 40 supply currently against a player without any real splash damage, except a couple of Banelings. You have 13 mines. This should be theoretically impossible to lose at this point. I actually do believe this is impossible to lose. Oh, here come the Banes I was talking about. Look at that. Now, he required 3 Banes and a couple of Hydras to clear 5 mines. Maybe stim 2 more times to get your army nice and quick into the red. Come on. Another stim. There we go. Beautiful. Now 1 more. And we're exactly where we want to be. 2 Banelings in this army. I like that this man knows exactly where the priority lays. There's 2 Banelings total, and he thinks it's more important to first target down the Lurker then, rather than hitting the Baneling that could one-shot his entire army. Very cool. These Marines have never seen battle, but they've already overdosed on opioids multiple times. Very cool as well. 10 Marines left. Okay. This has actually been one... If you don't manage to win this game, it's actually one of the biggest throws I've seen in my life. The Zerg somehow let you in because he thought that you probably had a fort base. He built 5 Evo chambers aggressively into a 3-base all-in, while he himself was on 6 bases, getting triple upgrades in the main base, tacking into lurkers. If he had 5 Banelings while he was defending, you would have died already. You don't deserve to be in this game anymore. You're in this game because the Zerg thought that you would have a 4th base, and perhaps even a 5th already as well. The reason why you're in this game is a complete misunderstanding, okay? It's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. Seismic Spine. Okay, I like that. So lurker upgrades coming in right now. And I guess this is where the game starts going poor for you. Which is, once again, difficult to imagine that things are possible to go poor from this point on. You have 30 Marines, 6 Marauders. Your opponent has 11 Hydras. If you would attack at this point, I think even with your eyes closed, you'd be able to win and without using Stim. Now this changes once the lurker comes out, which means that you'll need to switch up the current playstyle, because so far it looks like you have been playing, especially in the fights, with your eyes closed. And I guess not without Stim, because you've been stimming a little bit too much. But if you just actually move across the map, I don't think there's any way that you lose. Now, there's another trick, and this is an advanced concept. So if you're below diamond, just close your ears. But this is that you can split your army into multiple groups. So imagine your opponent has one base well fortified with tanks or lurkers, siege units, or with a planetary fortress or, I don't know, cannons, that type of stuff. You can, with the other half of your army, try to poke holes on the other side. You don't always need to have your entire army in a giant ball. Now, this is kind of confusing for people. And I understand that this can be confusing for you as well. But just try it. You just split the medevacs in half. You split the infantry in half. And you send one half to this side. And the other half, you don't even really need to use. You don't need to use them at the same time. Just have them split. And then you micro one half of your army. And the other half is just defending. If you see your opponent's army arriving where your half of the army is, you move that army back. And you go forward with the other half of your army. That way you only need to control one half of your army at a time. But you're still forcing your opponent to split as well. And defensive splitting often is harder than aggressive splitting. Now here a couple of lurkers are attacking your orbital command. Now this fight only took 15 seconds. So I completely understand why you decided not to lift this command center. It probably went a bit too fast for you there. It's like not sure whether to lift or whether to, you know, let it sit there and tank 3 damage from the lurkers. It's not like it was a planetary, it was a command center. There would have been no downside whatsoever to, to taking it out. But instead I think you decided to take out some rocks during that moment. But it's completely fine because you have plenty of money to spend, right? Right. Also that command center definitely wasn't important because you're running out of minerals, right? Right. Yeah, a little bit painful. Also lacking a complete lack of scans. You're losing this base as you're kind of caught out of position. To be fair, the Zerg also caught me out of position. I didn't see this coming. Now, there is a trick here, which is the sensor tower, which basically provides you with free map hack. It sees any unit that is moving towards you. It gives a little exclamation mark. It's absolutely great. I also want to check something real fast from your thing. Over the next 5 minutes, I kill 5 hatcheries and take favorable trades the entire time, being up 50 to 70 supply the entire time. I'm not sure if this is this time, but you have been up for 50 to 70 supply for the past 3 minutes already. You just haven't used that advantage, okay? It makes absolutely no sense. This is like if the US had won the space race against Russia, or well, they would have been, they built the first rocket that could go to the moon like 5 years before them. But rather than actually getting it to the moon, they decided to just leave it on the ground for another 12 years. That's kind of what happened in the past 3 minutes, okay? You had the win. All you needed to do was actually go to the moon. Or in this case, move to the other side of the map. How many mines? 12 mines. Another quick tip here is that mines aren't as useful anymore against lurkers often. You can use them to mainly against stuff like run-bys and to hold chokes, you know? Or well, hold choke as like a surprise in a choke if like 20 links go by or lurkers. Don't do that, please. Oh, he doesn't have a separate control group for Ghost, does he? I'm not sure if he has a separate control group for them or not. Oh. He scans forward, sees that there's an overseer, decides to go in, 2 snipes go off, and he loses all of his energy on the Ghost. Now, this is the type of decision making that I tune in for, my friends. Now he realizes, wait a second, if he has all of his lurkers over here, maybe there's nothing somewhere else. At the same time, getting run by it. If he doesn't lift this base, oh, thank the Lord. If he would have lost another command center at the 5th to a no anti-air run by, I would have been extremely upset. Now, the same concept from earlier, by the way, still counts. You're still allowed to split up your army, especially just a part of the bio at this point, with 3 medevacts. You put a mine over here, mine over here, mine over here, and you start clearing creep with the bio army. You use the ghost defensively for when lurkers try to move in, you can snipe them. You have a very nice ghost count. You have 19 ghosts against 4 lurkers. I'm not even quite sure how you're not just straight up killing him. Like, you can literally scan, queue up 35 snipes, and if your snipe doesn't go off, you actually get the energy back. This is one of the craziest things in all of StarCraft. Did you just EMP a lurker? Like, that EMP was so late. I think it actually hit a Viper, but I'm not even sure if that could be considered an EMP targeted at the Vipers. Okay, you just killed every single lurker. You didn't even snipe him. Stim? Blinding Clouds? Okay. Snipes? No, not necessary. So you win this fight again. A complete free win of a fight. Problem is this, these 7 links have actually destroyed everything at your home. But once again, this was a very good fight. Every fight, by the way, or in general, most fights have been very favorable for the Terran. I just really like to point that out. That the Terran was complaining about the fact that lurkers were too strong. But so far, not a single fight with lurkers was actually that bad. Unless you count walking 30 Marines into 4 lurkers. But that wasn't a fight. He just accidentally walked into a lurker. That's like saying that magma is too strong because your neighbor walked into a volcano accidentally. It's like, not quite sure if we'd count that. Nice. Yeah, another very fruitful fight. And for the second time this game, you're absolute light years ahead because your opponent doesn't have any larva. You do take out another lurker then, very nice. Spawning pool gets taken out as well. And now what's very important is the speed at which you do things. So you want to be killing either buildings or drones, just making sure that you're really pushing your lead. You know, last time I think you took quite a while at times to get things going. At the same time, you can also, of course, increase your own position of power in this game. By, for example, rather than having 33 workers at one base, you can split the workers up. Half over here, half on the other base. Oh. Nice EMP. It actually was a good EMP. Hit like 2-3 of the Vipers. Stim forward. Might want to use snipes. It is allowed. It is allowed to use snipes against things that aren't lurkers either. With a snipe, you can clear the Hydras real fast. You can trust me on that. You can also kill Vipers with it. Resources lost. Terran is up 16k. Or well, the bigger number is with the Zerg. By about 16,000. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. 123 supply against 96. For some weird reason, Paladin still isn't mining more than his opponent. Well, it's not a weird reason. It's because he's mining with 33 workers currently at 4 mineral patches. He still has this base completely open. He has an orbital in the main that he can lift to this base. So there's a lot of options. But needless to say, he's very busy controlling this army. Still not clearing creep, by the way. He's been on the map for the past 5 minutes. Well, he has cleared 61 at this point in total. So a little bit more than earlier. Started the cleaning process. I wonder if he's ever going to snipe any Hydras. Or if he just doesn't believe in it. That's also possible. Drops the mules. He is aware that he has a base over here. Drops the mules there. But decides to not use anything else. You would reckon that if someone is so keen on not doing any macro or any good economic actions, that he would have very good micro, or at least would be focusing his entire attention on the micro. But instead he's just chasing a laser like he's a cat over here. Look at these Hydras. These Hydras are just baiting him to chase him. On the creep. Look at this. This Zerg is... I don't understand why the Zerg is losing so hard, by the way. It feels like the Zerg has been outplaying the Terran the entire game. There were a lot of bad fights. Well, I guess it was just a couple of times... This is the sickest run I've seen in my life. That's actually really cool. Now we see some snipes. Okay, solid stuff. I guess the first fight was really bad for the Zerg. And after that, there just wasn't enough lurkers. But the Ghost, honestly, have been trading so well. I find it very weird that a Terran dares complaining after having this type of traits the entire time. Okay, this is the point I guess he was talking about. So right now, we're actually in a position just let's take in this information, okay? We currently have a Terran that should be outmining his opponent if he properly saturates these bases. Who has 12 Ghost, which can snipe basically any Zerg units multiple times. There's 4 Medevacs, 34 Marines, and 4 Marauders. And the Zerg has a single Viper without energy, 2 Lynx, 0 Queens, and 2 Lurkers in production. Now, I think you'd actually need to try to lose this game. I really do believe that if you would blindly A-move across the map, and you'd have a Raven with this army, I think you would actually win. Your planetary is safe, you're mining from there for a while longer. If you just eyes closed and you A-move on the map a couple of times, I think you could go, you know, make dinner for the night. You'd come back in 12 minutes and you'd see the victory screen. I am impressed that it isn't quite happening. Okay, there's no base over here. Hasn't scouted this base yet. Knows that there was a base over here at some point. Most of the time that also means that there's a base here, but he hasn't quite discovered it yet in the Fog of War. Okay. 2 Lurkers get taken out. Pretty efficient trade. I don't think he lost too much there. There's also no... Why is he going into the main? And he cleared all the tech in the main like 5 years ago already. I guess he can go again. Take out the Hive, Ultra Cavern, Hydra then. Guess it's not too bad. Still feel like this should be absolutely impossible to lose. He's up 60 supply. Okay. There's 4 Lurkers here. The reinforcements are getting taken out. Good scan here. Very nice scan. Sees that the Lurkers are there after losing 8 units. He's like, oh, okay, let me just scan now. The Zerg's actually controlling the unit as well, okay? Okay. The Lurker has an attack that goes in a line. So, unlike with most weapons, if you're standing behind someone and, you know, the person in front of you gets shot, you're kind of safe behind that person. With the Lurker, that is very different. The Lurker actually attacks in a line and it doesn't get stopped by the first person. So rather than moving into it in a line, what you want to do is you want to spread out your units. In StarCraft 2, we call that a concave. I'd want your units to be in a concave. That way, you wouldn't lose... Well, what is this? 6 Ghost, 4 or 5 Marauders, and a bunch of Marines to 4 Lurkers. Oh my god, that last shot. Okay, you lost like 15 Marines. Or 20 Marines maybe even. To 4 Lurkers. Yeah, with this type of trading, these 4 Lurkers are going to be really scary. Luckily, they're split up. So, if at some point you decide to finally clear this base, you might actually be fine. Also, you're still mining from these same 4 patches that you have been since minute 19. Now we see a lift on the orbital. Absolutely beautiful. Start sending it over here. Okay, I like that move a lot. I think it's genuinely a good move. I don't understand how it's possible that if all you're doing is paying attention to your army, that you lose a Ghost to 2 Hydras. Can't you pull it back if you see it's getting killed? No. Overlord's gonna get pushed back here a little bit as well. Still have this base mining. I don't think he's... He must be wondering right now what's going on. It's like, why is he not getting revealed? Is it possible that perhaps this piece of Fog of War that I haven't seen yet, that there's a base over there, might that just be the case? Yes, that might just be the case. That actually might just be the case. These mines, I think, just managed to kill a Lurker, by the way. Maybe even 2 Lurkers. Very cool. Currently, there is 3 Lurkers, 2 Hydras, 2 Lynx against 6 Ghost, 6 Medevacs, 8 Ghost, 6 Medevacs, and 5 Marauders. Now, just with snipes alone, you will win this fight 100% of the time. Why would you scan? What? You have a single orbital command and you scan an area? Why wouldn't you just send a single Marine to check first? This makes no sense. Now a Raven's actually a very good call, by the way, because you're out of orbit. Oh, you have a second orbital as well. Is he not in a hurry? What are you even doing? Okay, this single Marine is checking over here. It's like, oh, there's a base here again. I wonder if he's mining anywhere else. It is just impressive. I really find it... I just don't understand. Like, what are you doing at this point? Is he looking for lurkers underground or something? Okay, send 1 unit forward. Don't scan. Don't scan ahead of you. Just send 1 unit forward. Or wait for the Raven. Okay, solid. Good, here we go. Okay, base gets taken out. This Zerg is quite quick, by the way. You just pulled away the workers in time, I think. Yeah, very cool. This Zerg has so many good moves, but yet he's losing. Very interesting. Nice, there's a bunch of money in the bank now, at least. Okay, so this base gets taken out. Now, surely we can't break this, right? Hello? 9 Ghost. 3 Lurkers. 5 Lurkers. 6 Marauders. 5 Ultras. Ultras might be a bit of an issue at this point. There's no chitinous plating yet, though. So, and no anabolic synthesis. So these Ultras aren't going to be brilliant. Watch this army F2 into this, by the way. Still at this point, this base completely unscouted. Okay, here we go. Ghost. Snipe, 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 snipe. Just snipe. Snipe from a distance. If you queue up 6 snipes on these lurkers, you'll get it. Come on. He also knows that there's a base over here, by the way. Once again, this concept called splitting the army could be of major use here. Just sending a double drop towards this side with like 3 Marauders and like 10 Marines and 2 Medevacs would be fantastic. Allows you to defend this middle area so you don't have to be afraid of dying. And also allows you to keep pressure on 2 sides at the same time. With that army, you would be capable of killing anything here on the right side. Except maybe 4 lurkers, because I've seen how you micro against 4 lurkers. Okay, now this army is moving out. You're at home. Oh, actually respond in time. Second Raven is out as well, I like it. Actually, don't mind a second Raven here. Ghost, snipes, more snipes, more snipes. We need more snipes. He move commands his entire army into it while sniping. Oh man, one day someone's going to explain him about using a second control group. Look at this. This actually was way better of a fight. Just uses snipe from a distance, still loses 4 Ghost. Doesn't stim, because the Ghost is in front of the Marine and Marauder. You need to use the tab here. He actually hasn't stimmed ever since he built Ghost. Now he stims, because the Ghosts weren't in his control group yet. This is absolutely fantastic. It is difficult to believe that this is an actual person playing. It really is. Okay, well, these Ravens, auto turrets, I like that. Why is he controlling these Ravens so well? But why can't he control the Ghost just as well? Like, he was moving it back, microing it away from the Spore. I really did not expect... No, not... What? No, don't throw down every single turret you have. It was a single spine. You can use these later on. Okay, well, I think theoretically we're still winning. Now, of course, if we would have stopped this base from mining at any... This base... I'd just like to show you guys. This base, according to the Terran, doesn't exist yet, but in reality has been completely mined out. I didn't even know it was possible to be this unaware of anything. This is very impressive. Really, really impressive. One day I hope to achieve this level of ignorance of the world around me. Life must be so easy. Holy crap. Okay, these orbital commands have a bunch of energy, so even if these Ravens go down, we still have a chance. Our Ghost count, once again, is up to 5, but now the Lurker count is actually rising. Yeah, this is scary. Okay. Yeah, nice, in a line, very smart. Good, yeah, clump them up. Solid. Ooh, run out of the scan. Very annoying. Okay, here comes the scan. Oh! I tell you, this Zerg is actually pretty sick. This Zerg is really quite fast. Oh, and how many kills does this Lurker still get? This was a lone Lurker. How can a lone Lurker get 13 kills? I don't even understand how that's possible. You could have just sniped it with 3 Ghosts and it would have been fine again. Maybe he doesn't have a hotkey for snipe and needs to click it with the mouse. That would explain the speed of him. Hive is... I feel like this is what, the 4th Hive that we're seeing? Okay, the 3rd Hive. How many Lurker Dens has he lost? He has lost 4 Lurker Dens as well. Is he gonna rebuild it? Oh, he already has one. This is a 5th Lurker Den, the 5th Hydro Den. How many infestation pits? Oh, only lost 1. God. Honestly, he should have built every building here. This Terran never would have found it. This is the one piece of the map he doesn't want to go to. He's heard stories about it. Rumor on the street is that there's millions of lurkers waiting for you there. So I won't go. Oh! 2 lurkers. 2 lurkers. Why build the ravens if you're not going to use them for the detection? I mean, he clears it, but even that wasn't too efficient, you know? This type of fight... Okay. Here, we completely oversee the situation of what is here, okay? This is super clear what is going on. Now, we have multiple solutions to this problem. The first solution to this problem would be... I was going to say maybe you can cloak because there's nothing there, but that might not be the case. The first solution, which would be the easiest, is you see this lurker is exposed, so you just snipe it from the high ground. That is your first lurker. The second lurker also is in a great spot. You can also snipe it. Then you can move part of your army behind this mineral line, forcing the lurkers to unburrow. Once that happens, we snipe those as well, okay? That is the game plan as I see it. Now let's take a look at what Paladin has for a game plan. Okay. Snipes the lurker from the high ground, gets it. The hydras show up. We lose all the ravens. And we lose the rest. Not entirely the same as I had imagined it. There are also no mines with this army. Might have been helpful, these 5 mines. Stopping this type of move. Yeah. Good lord. Well, that was actually a very painful end. I'm not even sure if he was 100% dead over here. He was losing the mules. Still feel like it's playable, no? Two orbitals. If you can get... Well, I mean, theoretically it would have been playable. We know that Paladin wouldn't have won it. Especially not after that load up. Alright. Let's just... I'm just gonna have to look at your crap a little bit again. You said the Zerg has too many units, and unlike the Zerg, I don't have an imbalanced unit to counter the encroaching Zerg army. You actually have a siege unit. It's called a siege tank. The word siege is in the name of the unit. It helps massively at defending against encroaching Zerg armies. It helps massively holding positions aggressively. It helps massively covering for your ghost as well. You have a Have you even built Liberators? Oh, you built Liberators in the mid-game, but you kept just move commanding them into your opponent's army straight up. So it doesn't really count. The only unit that you actually built that was the counter to the Lurker was the Ghost, but you just continuously move commanded them with your bio army as well. Your snipes were kind of late. I actually felt like you absolutely had this game as well, which makes it even worse. Like, the unit lost in the end is still 13k in your favor. You just got completely outmined by this one bottom right side base, which you never saw. So really, to kind of summarize it, your micro was absolutely terrible. You have a single control group, which you always use, either F2 or a single control group. Whenever there's Ghost in your army, you can't stim. Whenever you have Liberators, they fly into your opponent's Hydra force because you can't push them back. Only when they're sieged up are the units not move commanding into your opponent's army. You lost an entire army close to your 5th base, or what was once your 5th base, trying to move into a lurker position. That was absolutely terrible as well. The no stimming. So for the micro, you get a big fat thumbs down. For your army composition, well, no tanks whatsoever. You had Liberators. Did you have Lib range though? No, you didn't have Lib range either. Technically, it's possible to play with the army comp that you did, but not with your micro. So for you, I'd say the army comp is fine, but in the future, I'd recommend tanks and more Liberators. Units that siege up, so you don't really have to control them anymore once they're sieged up. They kind of fire automatically. That's probably why you enjoy building Widow Mines as much as well. Then for the final one is your in-game decision making and your army splits, which were absolutely non-existent. You always had a massive ball of an army. You never once multitasked. You did 2 drops at the start, but you only did that because your entire army could fit in the drops. You never multitasked. You never had a secondary attack going. Always came from one side. Your rotations were extremely obvious. You put it all together, and I think it's pretty clear that the Lurker isn't the problem, but your mediocre brain and execution are. And thus, my friend, it is you who sucks, and not the Lurker that is imbalanced. All right. That's going to be it for today's episode of Is It IMBA or Do I Suck? I hope you did enjoy this relatively long episode. Thanks all so much for watching. Be sure to send in your own IELTS forms from the description down below. Use the Google Sheet that we have attached to it. And hopefully I'll see all of you for a new video. Thank you and bye bye.